Hi, this is MIcornus Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. Today, I want to speak about channels in handling members in a church, members' complaints in the church. And we want to speak about members' complaints and how to handle them in a church. Because it's very important that we anticipate that there will be complaints in a church, especially as the church grows. There will be some conflicts, there will be some issues, there will be some complaints that rise in a church. So therefore, there must be systems, there must be channels in your church on how to handle members' complaints. And we cannot say you must ignore it, because some of the churches break down and they actually lose membership because complaints are not dealt with appropriately. And there's no platform actually to address complaints. And as a result, you see members walking away because they don't get enough attention from the leadership of the church, because there's no proper platform or channel for complaints that to handle the complaints of the members. We are saying in a church you must actually put up channels and proper channels whereby the members can actually articulate their complaints. The first thing today that I want you to look at is people should commit as members, number one. Because when people are committed as members, most of the time the complaints diminish or they become lesser. Because with commitment, you become a bit more interested in making things to happen. So as a result, things that you could complain about generally, in this case, you fix them yourself, or you know the relevant structures as well that you could actually refer them to when you're a member. Because when you're not a member, most of the things you see them as strange. And that's the reason when people are not committed in a church, there are more complaints that are showing up in the church. And that's the reason why we want to emphasize today that let people commit first as members. And most of the time, when people commit as members, half of the problems actually diminish, or you find there are no more any, because the members, they are taking responsibility, they are accountable, they are responsible in most of the things, and they will make sure that things are getting sorted out even before the complaints reaches the leadership. The second thing is every member has a right to voice concerns. So open up the platform, have what we call an open door policy, whereby you allow people to complain and raise their concerns. Because immediately you shut down concerns in the church and you don't allow people to voice out their problems, you're going to run into a problem whereby you're going to find people complaining in their own corners and starting to make their own cliques where they discuss about issues of the church without voicing them. And when they don't voice them, it would mean then it will be limited to solutions. And you might actually realize that there was a problem only when people then are leaving. That is why most of the churches we start to see members leaving the church, and we see actually members going away, and we are not aware of what problems they are having, and only to realize later that they left for something that could have been solved earlier. But we are saying that if you provide a platform where people can actually raise their concerns, you are able to attend to the concerns much earlier. And therefore, people can remain and knowing that they are being listened to, knowing that they are being given attention, knowing that their issues can be solved in the church, then they remain. Now, in many churches, there's a problem because the communication is just so limited, whereby there's no concerns platform where people can raise their concerns. Now, because of that, we have seen that churches like that, the people, as I said, they formulate cliques, but at the end of the day, they influence each other negatively. And when they leave in big numbers. And that's some of the reasons that bring about church splits, whereby there have been conflicts, but the conflicts are not being addressed. And some of the conflicts are being ignored as well. I'm not saying this is the only reason why church splits are caused, but some of the cases is delayed solution or delayed attention to problems that are there in the church because they are not being addressed. So that's one thing that we would love to emphasize, that please raise up a platform, make sure that people are comfortable in raising concerns earlier on than later, because later it might be at the time where it's late and some of them already packed their bags and left the church. The other thing is you need to clarify the correct channels as well, to voice their concerns. So there must be a particular structure. So some of the easiest ways that we advise as church governance solutions is that people belong to departments and people become members of departments. Because when there are problems in the church, then there's a departmental leader that could actually be contacted. There's a departmental leader that can be spoken to. And through the channel of your departmental leader, you're going to address issues that if the departmental leader may not have capacity to respond to that, they are able to take the concerns further and escalate them to the leaders of the church, whether elders, church board members, whoever it is that will be next in line from them, and from there they can take it up to the higher echelons of the church, including the first man, which will be, or the first lady in the church, which could be the pastor, or a woman pastor, or a male pastor who is there. So in other words, this is very important that we have channels, we have structures, we have departments where people can be comfortable in voicing their concerns. Because the concerns may not be related to a department, but still it gives them platform to speak to people that they are comfortable with, the people that are actually everyday communication for them. And as they do that, they are able to help them to escalate, as I've said, to the leadership of the church. And if the leaders of the church cannot be able to resolve, this can be escalated to the senior pastor. And the senior pastor can actually catch the breath of that and know exactly that there is an issue that needs to be attended to much earlier on, as I said, before people decide to leave. Now, that's very, very key that we do that. So you need sometimes to consider what we call suggestion boxes. So suggestion boxes system has actually worked in some of the churches, whereby you put in a box whereby people can actually bring about suggestions, they write them down, they throw them in the box, then that box is being checked basically almost every day. It could be checked every week. There might be people that are allocated to check that box, and they are vetting the concerns that people have and also suggestions that people have, so that you can look at what can be implemented and what cannot be. And therefore, you can be able to respond much more snappy and easier to the people that are having concerns. Now, this is very important and very effective way sometimes in some of the churches that have actually found it difficult to actually detect when there are issues, detect when there are conflicts, detect when there are suggestions. So suggestion box has actually worked in some of the churches. And as church governance solutions, we'd love to suggest that if it's a workable solution for your own church. And of course, it is you who knows your church better. It is you who knows what can work and what cannot work. And that's the reason why we put it only as a suggestion for you right now. Now, the other thing is home cell leaders. If you are having a home cells in your church, they may be an option, because departmental leaders that we're talking about, we're talking also about home cell leaders if you're running a home cell, because members might be more comfortable with their home cell leaders, and they may be able actually to raise concerns to home cell leaders instead of actually raising this directly with the senior pastor in the church. So if you have got home cells in your church and it is a channel that can be used, as I said, this platform is basically to suggest to you as a pastor. We're not imposing to you. We are suggesting to you methods that might be available, that might be appropriate for your own church. If home cells are there and you would love to use home cell leaders as well, please make sure that this is an avenue that can be used as well. Now, we want to also mention that some churches use church coordinators now, whereby you're having a church secretary, or rather a coordinator in a church. And that particular person could be the one who receives concerns in the church and is the one who can put up some systems and ways of how to deal with the concerns that members are raising, and to look at how implementable it is to actually implement anything that will help the members. And that's very key that we mention that as well, because where you have a coordinator, the coordinator must be approachable. Coordinator must be somebody who is friendly enough that people can feel comfortable to go and approach him or her and be able to address issues that may otherwise be difficult to address them with the senior pastor. that may otherwise be difficult to raise them with more higher leaders like your church elder, church board members. So therefore, if you having a secretary or a coordinator, somebody who can be able to address the issues with the pastor or with the leadership, so please make use of that as well. So that is just a suggestion that we put out there that might be actually helpful for your church. We don't know how your church is ran and is managed, but if that is a suggestion that you can take and make use of that, so feel free to also do that. Now, direct appointment with the pastor in churches that are still manageable in that regard. Remember that some churches are too big to actually allow the pastor to be actually having contact with everybody. It's not possible just purely because of the number of people in that church. And that's the reason why, if it's an issue of seeing the pastor directly, let it be in a church that is still having a capacity to do that because of the number of members that you have. The lesser the members, the easier it might be to have a reach unto the pastor. And I want to say this as a disclaimer right here, because there are members that feel that their pastors are unreachable. And I want to say to those members that sometimes you must be reasonable yourself. Because if the church is big and you're going to expect your pastor to be seeing each one of you individually, how many people do you think that the pastor can be able to see? Because as a result, then it limits actually the accessibility of the pastor based on the number of the people. And I think we need to be reasonable enough. But I know there are those members that feel like, I want the pastor, I don't want the assistant pastor, I want the pastor, I don't want church board elder, I don't need a departmental leader, I need the pastor himself. And there are members like that. But understand it here that there are times where the pastor may not be available. Is your problem or your issue able to wait? If you are able to wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or even a month sometimes, or even more, if you are able to wait, then wait for the pastor. But we are saying that there are structures in churches that might be actually accessible for you and as an individual church member. So please make use of other channels and systems that are in the church, and you'll be helped more easily and more quicker, rather than to wait for the pastor who may not be available for quite lengthy time. The last thing is, don't spread your concerns without voicing them. Because sometimes there are many members that will go around spreading their concerns with other members, and therefore developing a wrong spirit in the church, instead of addressing them with the right and appropriate people. So please stop spreading the concerns to other members, because as you do that, you are basically causing divisions in the church, you are causing strife and destroying the church in a way. You may not be aware of that, but want to emphasize that the right way to do is to address with appropriate structures, with appropriate people that will be able to attend to your concerns easily and quickly. I want to end up here today, your host, MIcornus Phokane. I'm the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. Remember, on this platform, we're basically restoring godly order in the house of the orderly God. So you are welcome to follow us on our social media platforms. Our Facebook page is Church Governance Solutions, and my personal Facebook page, MIcornus Phokane. So please like those pages and follow us. Don't forget our Instagram and our TikTok account under MIcornus Phokane. So follow us, like those pages as well. Our YouTube channel is under Young Men Empowerment Forum. Young Men Empowerment Forum, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we would love you to click notification button as well, so that you are reminded when we have posted videos of this kind. May the good Lord bless you until we meet again with another topic. Allow us to check out right here and say cheers for now.